Other things have been canceled recently.
Bye.
Take it, Destin. I love that.
All right, so Shadow Realms is canceled. That was the BioWare game that we saw at Gamescom.
Just a
briefly.
snort from under the
I
table.
thought she was snoring, but she's standing up. I don't think people can see her. Sorry.
No,
There's a
she's
distracting dog in here, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, so Shadow Realms, it's no more. Canceled.
So I missed this story when it went live, and I was on like my Skype group talking to my Dota friends, and they were like, "Yo, you guys see it? Shadow Realms is canceled." I was like, "What? Y'all are crazy. There's no way." And then Logic set in, and I was like, "Oh no, right." That
Did you
makes a
see
lot
the
of sense.
gameplay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. They should not have showed it at Gamescom. Like, it was not in a
Well,
showable
they also
form.
went radio silent
Well,
forever after that.
So,
Yeah.
a couple things.
They were like, oops.
Number one, this was technically never announced for console. But
Sure.
we're talking about this.
Yeah.
You'll see why in a minute. But because I heard that it was possibly being, like, console versions were being looked at.
Yeah, it was like being rebooted, sort
Yeah.
of.
Like, oh, maybe we should be doing this on consoles as well as PC. Because it actually, it's a 4v1 game, but not like Evolve. It's 4v1 where,
It's like an
one,
MMO.
one person's sort of the dungeon master, but bad guy also.
I
It's
never
Fable
understood
Legends.
because they didn't. They never really showed it though. They never talked about that role a whole lot.
Yeah, and then the other 4 people were playing co-op through the dungeon. And on
It
paper,
looked-
it sounds great, but I guess they decided. So they did say it's canceled, and that BioWare Austin, which is the studio that was working on this, will continue support on Star Wars: The Old Republic and support Edmonton's Dragon Age
Yeah.
stuff,
Right.
which, from a business sense, makes perfect
Sure.
sense because Dragon Age, huge.
Yeah.
It is. They have. You got to give BioWare credit. Dragon Age was a thing that they'd been working on for 5 years before the first one came out. Like, that thing was long in development. And then it came out, and it was like, okay, this is pretty good. This is like kind of old school BioWare.
it was basically Fantasy KOTOR.
Right. Dragon Age 2 came out, and it was like, oh, some of the changes, I don't know. Then they righted the not that the ship was wrong, but they found the
Course
right
corrected.
Yeah, they course corrected with Inquisition, and they've fully got a mega franchise on their
Yes.
hands now.
I'm
Mega
glad Shadow Realms has been canceled. I
Wow,
mean,
really?
it didn't look like it had like that hook that it would have needed to really succeed, and I think it would have been a lot of money dumped into development for a product people wouldn't have enjoyed.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
mean they had this massive like viral teasery campaign going on before, and
Uh-huh.
it all sounded really interesting. And
And then they showed
they
it.
showed it, and it was like,
What is this exactly? And that's the question a lot of gamers had when they actually saw the footage.
I'm going to be very curious to see what happens with. I want to see 2 things: how Evolve sells, and
Seriously.
what happens with Fable Legends, and what do those? What,
Is that out? When
what
does
do those
Fable
3
Legends
games,
come out?
Evolve, Fable Legends, and Shadow Realms, have in common? They're all 4v1 games.
Yep.
Oh,
So I'm very
yeah.
curious to see, because, Evolve on IGN, we don't know how reflective that is of the mass market, had kind of a lot of, you'd look in the comments or on Twitter, and the reception was very mixed.
Middling
Yeah.
enthusiasm.
Yeah, it was like, well, I like this game, but is it worth $60? And we ultimately, Vince gave it a 9. I can't disagree with him. We talked all last week's the top of last week's show that the game's super fun,
Yeah.
super great. I mean, whether you think it's worth $60 is another thing, but I don't think you can argue that the game is fun. So I want to see how Evolve sells. We've got Shadow Realms canceled. I have not been high at all on Fable Legends in what I
Yeah.
saw and played at E3.
We also haven't seen it for over a year.
We haven't seen it since E3.
No, we saw
Was it at E3?
It was at Gamescom.
Well, that's where I played
Oh,
it. Was
okay.
at E3. Yeah.
Was it at Gamescom?
Yeah,
Huh.
I'm not sure. I wasn't at Gamescom this year, and I don't.
I was there. I
remember-
played it.
Oh, you
So,
did. It
Yeah.
was.
So, I
Oh,
mean,
sorry.
Yeah.
That kind of
misheard
goes
you.
to show that they are clearly, 1, not marketing it well. 2, people in the press aren't really caring about it enough to
Yeah.
talk about it in a loud enough volume for me to hear.
So I'm just the bigger point being, I wonder if 4v1 is going to be one of those cool ideas that you think is going to be a trend but fizzles out. I don't know.
Could be.